Trust us, the legislature doesn't either. As the second week of the Florida legislative session rolled on, it was made clear to working families and the public at large that whoever was behind the wheel of this year's legislative agenda was driving in every direction but the right one. Take, for instance, SB 216, which appeared in committee this week aiming to somehow make Florida's already broken unemployment system even more of a car wreck. Working families have defeated this bill several years in a row now, but the legislature seems to have a knack for resurrecting that which really should remain dead. Luckily, despite their best efforts, the Working Family Lobby Corps was ready to meet this flaming disaster as soon as it left the garage into its first committee stop, where they highlighted that this attempt to target fraud was really just targeting the people who need it most.
I mean, a lot of these things are not going to get bots. They're getting human beings that are out of work and trying to find help.
These people have earned it. This is not a handout. This is not welfare. These people have earned it. And so I think we're forgetting that part, that the state is just giving out money. No, they're giving out money that they have earned.
I mean, ultimately, I just don't think this bill is needed. I don't think that the proposal is needed. I don't think that the problem we currently have still in 2026 with our reemployment assistance program is that it's too easy to get. That's not the problem. That is not the problem.
Meanwhile, despite their attacks over previous sessions, private interests were still circling education as the ideal arena of attack in an endless and unnecessary culture war that seems to have possessed our public representatives. HB 1071, for instance, represents a monstrous education omnibus bill that for some reason throws DEI elimination and reduced sex education in conversation with accountability requirements and school improvements, unnecessarily blurring the lines between fact, fiction, and personal opinion in our public schools, and inflaming the culture war working Floridians are already long tired of. The timeliness of the bill was not lost on members, as this is also the same week that we were honoring the beloved civil rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Members were quick to remind everyone that the necessity of fighting for diversity and equality for all is not an old idea, but still a lived experience for many.
DEI does not divide. I grew up in Alabama in the 60s, and there was no diversity. There was no equity. There was no inclusion. And were it not for an affirmative action executive order by Lyndon Baines Johnson in 63, or whenever he passed that, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. And I'm willing to bet 25% of my colleagues would not be here in the House or the Senate because the executive order on affirmative action and then later the Civil Rights Act and then later other laws made it possible for blacks, Asians, Hispanics, and women for this legislative body to be inclusive and diverse.
Thankfully, the week's session wasn't all setbacks, and the Working Family Lobby Corps took a victory home in SB 430. This disastrous bill sought to police our teachers with a new oath, requiring them to swear allegiance to the state and other vaguely worded terms that were really meant to chill the free expression of ideas in the classroom. Luckily, the bill's apocryphal nature has entered this session with such little opening support, it has already become temporarily postponed in its very first committee stop.
All right, Bubba, to give it up your home seat.
Elsewhere in the Capitol building, the Working Family Lobby Corps was hard at work in its final committee stops to combat the legislature's repeated gaslighting that property tax cuts were the only way forward to help squeezed Floridians find some financial relief. Thankfully, despite seeing bills get even this far, concerned citizens, local public officials, and working families were undeterred and eager to make sure that terrible property tax bills like HJR 203 that promised savings would in fact cost Floridians more than they could ever get back.
Well, with all due respect to this particular bill, I believe the phase-in component of it is actually worse than the alternative, because what this is it's conditioning our citizens to accept a lower quality of life over time.
So you're telling me even when you do leave it to the voters, the court doing the governor's bidding will just stop us from funding our local communities. So we don't even have a way out.
And I don't think that the constituents want someone who is not affected by them telling us what we can spend our money.
At this point, I think Floridians will either settle for checks or balances because we don't have either.
And you can do that by holding local governments harmless. Because you have unlimited taxing authority. They don't. Right now, less than 1% of corporations in Florida pay the corporate income tax. You're losing billions every year because you won't close loopholes because there's lobbyists in the room that are keeping you from doing so.
With such massive opposition, it's hard to see how a bill like this continues to advance in the Florida legislature. But evil never rests. It somehow got approved to move to the floor. Still, some legislators themselves made clear that in determining the bill's future this session, it's hard to ignore not just the absurdity of the bill's proposal, but also how poorly planned it is as well.
It should not be acceptable to anyone who asks questions of a piece of legislation and gets answers, I don't know, I can't say, we didn't contemplate it, I didn't calculate that. They're just going to have to figure it out. That is irresponsible, and there is no possibility that I'm voting in favor of a bill that does that, nor should you.
Finally, despite the busy events of the week, members of the Working Family Lobby Corps still found time in the middle of their hard work to speak to us about their experiences in Tallahassee and what it has taught them.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Dessa. I am a member of the United Teachers of Dade in Miami.
My name is Stephanie Mitchell. I'm from Palm Beach County Classroom Teacher Association.
Norwood Oric, IBEW 824 in Tampa.
Hi, my name is Sonia Johnson. I'm with the Palm Beach County CTA.
I have been up here working to speak to legislatures about the needs of teachers and students, especially when we come to teacher salaries.
I've met with some local representatives and asked their support for multi-year teacher, the bill dealing with multi-year teacher contract and to support public school funding.
I'm up here this year, just like I come every year, because I like getting frustrated in Tallahassee, watching these lawmakers make life worse for us.
My experience here at the legislative office, it has good and bad. The bad I see is that you go in with a positive attitude that you get what you want, but not necessarily. It usually goes the opposite way. The only thing we have to do is keep on fighting and keep on going to these committee meetings and try to make a difference for our teachers and for our students.
That's all for this week's legislative update. Though progress was made in some places and even victories in others, stay tuned for next week, because if there's one thing we can trust the legislature to do, it's make sure a bad idea never truly stays dead.